Expert warning. If you're over 60 and do this before bed, you're feeding your anxiety. 7 out of 10 adults over 60 experience anxiety episodes that significantly affect their sleep quality and daily life. Most alarming is that many are feeding this anxiety without even realizing it, especially during those crucial moments just before sleep. When night falls and the outside world grows silent, that's when the mind has the freedom to raise its voice, sometimes transforming into a whirlwind of thoughts that keeps us awake, staring at the ceiling, counting the passing hours. What you may not know is that certain seemingly harmless habits you practice before going to bed are acting as fuel for that inner fire of worry and distress. But I have good news for you. Identifying these habits is the first step to reclaiming those nights of restorative rest that you so desire. In today's video, we're going to reveal which behaviors a mental health and geriatric expert has identified as the main feeders of nighttime anxiety in people over 60. Not only that, we'll also share specific and simple techniques that you can implement tonight to begin transforming your bedtime routine. I invite you to watch this video until the end, because the last piece of advice we'll share has been a true turning point for many people who suffered from anxiety-induced insomnia. If you know someone over 60 who could benefit from this information, don't hesitate to share this video. Now, I'd like to ask you to leave a comment below telling us what your biggest challenge is when trying to fall asleep, so we can address your specific situation in future videos. If you identify with what we're talking about and are looking for natural ways to calm your mind and regain that restorative rest you so need, our channel is a safe space created especially for you. Each week, we share simple and effective techniques that have helped thousands of older people recover their emotional and physical well-being. We're together on this journey, and every small step you take toward tranquility matters enormously. Click the subscription button below and activate notifications to receive our videos as soon as they're published. Remember, you don't need to face anxiety alone, and small changes in your nighttime routine can make a big difference in your quality of life and how you feel each morning when you wake up. Now, let's delve into those habits that, according to specialists, are feeding your anxiety before sleep or over 60. The first habit that might be sabotaging your nighttime peace is checking news or social media right before bed. Perhaps you think it's a harmless way to stay informed or connected with your loved one, but the reality is that exposing your mind to a torrent of information, often negative, right before trying to fall asleep, is like trying to calm a child by showing them a horror movie. A study conducted by the University of Pennsylvania discovered that people who consume news before sleeping have a 37% higher chance of experiencing anxiety symptoms during the night. This is because our brain is programmed to pay special attention to information it perceives as threatening or negative, an evolutionary mechanism that has kept us safe as a species, but which in the modern world become counterproductive. How can we modify this habit? Experts recommend establishing a period of digital disconnection of at least 1 hour before going to bed. Instead of checking the news or social media, consider activities that calm your nervous system. Reading a physical book, preferably a light novel or an inspiring story, avoiding topics that might trigger worries, listening to soft music, or practicing guided meditation specifically for falling asleep. You can even establish an end-of-day routine where you write down in a notebook the positive aspects you experienced and what you feel grateful for. This gratitude practice has proven to be extremely effective in redirecting the mind toward positive thoughts before sleep, decreasing cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and increasing the production of serotonin, a neurotransmitter associated with feelings of well-being and happiness. I need to pause here and ask you something important. What is that recurring thought that seems to intensify when you lay your head on the pillow? You know, each person experiences nighttime anxiety in a unique way, and sharing this experience can be the first step to understanding it better. I know that perhaps you've never talked about this with anyone. Maybe you think no one would understand, or that your nighttime worries are exaggerated. But I want you to know that here, in this space, your experience matters deeply. Leave us a comment below completing the phrase, "When I try to sleep, I can't stop thinking about." Your courage in sharing might be exactly what someone else needs to read today to feel less alone in their sleepless nights. In upcoming videos, we'll specifically address those recurring thoughts you share. This is a community of mutual support, where each word of yours is welcomed with respect and understanding. The second habit that might be feeding your anxiety before sleep is consuming certain foods or drinks that, without your knowledge, are altering your brain chemistry and nervous system. As we age, our metabolism changes and we become more sensitive to certain stimulants. Caffeine, present not only in coffee but also in black tea, some green teas, chocolate, sodas, and even certain medications, can remain in an older adult's system for up to 7 hours, much longer than in a young person. This means that cup of coffee you had after dinner or that piece of chocolate you enjoyed as dessert could be keeping your nervous system on alert when you should be relaxing for sleep. But caffeine isn't the only culprit. Refined sugar can cause spikes and drops in blood glucose levels, which can manifest as nighttime anxiety. Likewise, heavy or spicy meals can cause indigestion or reflux, creating physical discomfort that the brain can interpret as alarm signals. What solution do specialists propose? Creating a nutritional protection zone in the hours before sleep. This involves avoiding caffeine after midday, limiting consumption of refined sugars especially in the afternoon and evening, and eating light dinners rich in tryptophan, an amino acid precursor to serotonin and melatonin, the hormones of well-being and sleep respectively. Some recommended foods for dinner include turkey, chicken, fish like salmon, eggs, nuts like almonds and walnuts, in small quantities due to their high caloric content, bananas, and dairy products like natural yogurt. A small snack before bed consisting of a banana with a tablespoon of almond butter or a small cup of whole grain cereal with warm milk can help stabilize blood sugar levels during the night and provide the necessary precursors for melatonin production. Additionally, some herbal teas like chamomile, valerian, lavender, or passion flower can be excellent allies to prepare the body and mind for rest. A study published in the Journal of Advanced Nursing found that older adults who consumed chamomile tea before bed not only fell asleep more quickly, but also reported fewer anxiety symptoms during the following day. The third habit that may be increasing your anxiety before bedtime is perhaps one of the most difficult to identify because it has become so normalized in our culture. Ruminating about financial, health, or family worries right before going to bed. Bedtime seems to magically become the perfect moment for our brain to review all worries, unresolved problems, and possible catastrophic scenarios of the future. This tendency intensifies after 60, when concerns about health, financial independence, or the well-being of loved ones can become more prominent. What happens physiologically is that this type of thinking activates our stress response system, releasing cortisol and adrenaline, hormones designed to keep us alert and prepared for action, exactly the opposite of what we need to achieve restorative sleep. Rumination before bed is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It simply doesn't work, and, in fact, worsens the situation. So, how can we break this cycle? Experts in cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia have developed a technique called scheduled worry time. It consists of deliberately setting aside a period of 15 to 20 minutes, several hours before going to bed, to actively process your worries. During this time, sit with a notebook and write down all the concerns you have, big or small. For each one, write a concrete action you can take the next day to address it, or if no action is possible, explicitly acknowledge this fact. Then, when those same worries try to capture your attention while you're in bed, you can remind yourself, I've already dedicated time to this worry and established a plan. Now is the time to rest, and tomorrow I'll take care. This technique has shown surprising results in clinical studies, reducing not only nighttime anxiety, but also improving overall sleep quality. A perfect complement to this strategy is the practice of mindfulness meditation, which teaches you to observe your thoughts without emotionally engaging with. Imagine your anxious thoughts as leaves floating on a river. You can see them pass without needing to jump into the water to catch them. With regular practice, this skill can completely transform your relationship with nighttime anxiety. The fourth habit that could be feeding your anxiety is one that often goes unnoticed: the lack of a consistent bedtime routine. As we age, and especially after retirement, we may lose the temporal structures that organized our lives, work schedules, taking children to school, or regular social commitment. This freedom, although liberating in many aspects, can be problematic for our internal biological clock. Our body functions optimally when it follows consistent circadian rhythms, and the lack of routine can dysregulate the natural production of melatonin and cortisol, key hormones that regulate our sleep and wake cycles. This dysregulation not only makes it difficult to fall asleep, but can also manifest as an increase in anxiety level, especially during nighttime. Neuroscience shows us that the brain loves predictability. When it knows what to expect, alert systems can relax. Conversely, unpredictability keeps the brain in a state of increased vigilance. Sleep medicine specialists recommend establishing a structured and consistent nighttime routine that signals to the brain that it's time to start relaxing. This routine could include activities such as taking a warm bath, which causes a drop in body temperature upon exiting, a signal that favors sleep, practicing gentle stretches or restorative yoga, reading something pleasant, on paper, not screens, or listening to relaxing music or nature sounds. The crucial thing is to perform these activities in the same order and approximately at the same time each night. A study conducted with older adults found that those who maintained regular bedtime and wake-up schedules reported 42% fewer anxiety symptoms than those with irregular schedules. Additionally, exposure to bright light in the morning and reducing exposure to blue light at night emitted by electronic device screen, can help synchronize your internal clock. If you use electronic devices at night, consider using glasses that block blue light, or activate night modes on your devices. Remember that establishing a routine doesn't mean being inflexible, or small variations are normal and expected. The important thing is to maintain a general structure that your body can recognize as the signal that the day is ending and it's time to prepare for rest. The fifth habit that may be intensifying your anxiety before bed is physical inactivity. It may seem contradictory to talk about daytime activity when we're focusing on nighttime habits. But the reality is that there's a direct connection between both. Our bodies are designed for movement, and regular exercise has a powerful anxiolytic, anxiety-reducing effect and promotes sleep. At the physiological level, moderate physical activity reduces stress hormone levels like cortisol and increases the production of endorphins, our natural painkillers that also generate feelings of well-being. Additionally, exercise helps regulate the circadian rhythm and increases body temperature, which then, as it naturally decreases, facilitates falling asleep. However, many adults over 60 significantly reduce their level of physical activity for various reasons: joint pain, fear of injury, lack of company for exercise, or simply having established sedentary habits over the years. This inactivity creates a vicious cycle. The lack of exercise contributes to anxiety and sleep problems, which in turn decrease energy and motivation to stay active. How to break this cycle? Experts in geriatrics and sports medicine recommend incorporating moderate physical activity during the day, ideally in the morning or early afternoon, avoiding intense exercise in the 3 to 4 hours before bedtime, as it could have a stimulating effect in some people. It's not necessary to perform strenuous or complex exercises. Brisk walking for 20-30 minutes, swimming, practicing Tai Chi, gentle yoga, or dancing are excellent options for older adults. A study published in Sleep Medicine Reviews found that older adults who regularly performed moderate aerobic exercise experienced a 55% reduction in the time needed to fall asleep and reported 30% fewer nighttime awakening. If you have physical limitations, there are adaptations for almost any exercise: chair yoga, mobility exercises in water, or even routines that can be done sitting down. The important thing is to find an activity that you enjoy and can maintain consistently. Movement not only benefits the body, but also the mind. By focusing on physical activity, your brain gets a break from anxious thoughts, creating a healthier neural pattern that will persist until nighttime. The sixth habit that may be exacerbating your nighttime anxiety is having difficult or conflictive conversations during the hours before. Emotionally intense interactions, whether arguments with family members, conversations about worrying financial matters, or even calls with friends who are going through complicated situations, can activate our sympathetic nervous system, responsible for the fight or flight response. When this system is activated, our body releases adrenaline and cortisol, accelerating heart rate, increasing blood pressure, and preparing us for action, exactly the opposite of the relaxation state necessary for restorative sleep. This effect can be particularly pronounced in older adults, whose nervous system may take longer to return to a state of calm after activation. Dr. Elena Martinez, a neuropsychologist specializing in sleep disorders in older adults, explains that the brain needs time to process intense emotion. When we bring recent emotional concerns to bed, we're asking our brain to perform two incompatible tasks simultaneously: processing emotions and preparing for sleep. The solution that specialists propose is to establish an emotional decompression period of at least 2 hours before going to bed. During this time, avoid conversations about potentially stressful topics such as finances, family conflict, disturbing news, or planning important events. If you live with other people, you can kindly communicate your need to keep this period free of intense discussions. I'd prefer if we talked about this tomorrow morning, when we're both rested and clear-minded. If you've had an emotionally intense interaction before your bedtime, take a few minutes to consciously process what happened, perhaps by writing down your thoughts or practicing a brief self-compassion method. Remember that postponing a difficult conversation is not avoiding it, but choosing the most appropriate time to address it, when your emotional and cognitive resources are at their best. An especially effective technique is to mentally close the day. Imagine that you're closing a symbolic door to the day's worries, with the certainty that they'll be there tomorrow if you need to address them, but that now is the time to rest. This simple visualization can help create a psychological separation between the time for activity and worry, and the time for rest and recovery. The seventh habit, and perhaps one of the most significant that may be feeding your anxiety before sleep, is self-medication. Many older adults, in their search for relief from insomnia or nighttime anxiety, resort to solutions that, paradoxically, can worsen these problems in the long term. Prolonged use of sleep medications, even those available over the counter, can generate dependency and alter the natural architecture of sleep, reducing the phases of deep sleep and REM, fundamental for cognitive and emotional health. Likewise, alcohol, although it can initially induce drowsiness, interferes with natural sleep cycle, causing frequent awakenings during the night and lower quality sleep. Dr. Miguel Sanchez, a sleep medicine specialist at La Paz University Hospital, explains that many of my older patients don't associate their moderate alcohol consumption in the evening with their sleep problems and anxiety. However, even a glass of wine with dinner can significantly reduce the quality of rest in people over 60, whose metabolism processes alcohol more slowly. What is the alternative recommended by specialists? First, if you're taking sleep medication regularly, it's crucial to consult with your doctor before making any changes. Never discontinue prescribed medications without professional supervision. Your doctor can help you develop a personalized plan to gradually reduce dependency, possibly incorporating cognitive behavioral techniques for insomnia, which have proven to be as or more effective than medications in the long term, without the side effects. Regarding alcohol, experts recommend avoiding its consumption 3 to 4 hours before going. If you enjoy an occasional drink, consider moving it to lunchtime instead of. For those seeking natural alternatives to facilitate sleep, there are options supported by scientific evidence. Slow-release melatonin in low doses, 0.5 rem can be useful, especially for regulating the circadian rhythm in older adults, who naturally produce less of this hormone. Bright light therapy in the morning can also help synchronize the internal clock. Supplements like magnesium glycine, which has muscle and neurological relaxing properties, can be beneficial for some people. However, even with natural supplements, it's essential to consult with a healthcare professional before starting their use, as they can interact with medications or pre-existing conditions. And now we come to the 8th and final habit, which according to specialists, could be the most crucial of all: bringing your electronic devices to bed. This practice, seemingly harmless and tremendously common, can be the silent saboteur of your nighttime rest and a potent amplifier of anxiety. Why? There are multiple reasons backed by scientific research. First, the blue light emitted by phone, tablet, and computer screen suppresses the production of melatonin, the hormone responsible for regulating our sleep cycle. This suppression can significantly delay falling asleep and decrease sleep quality. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that exposure to screen light for as little as 30 minutes before going to bed can reduce melatonin production by 22% in older adults, a significantly higher percentage than in young adults. But the problem goes beyond blue light. The content we consume on these devices, whether work emails, news, social media, or even games, keeps our brain in a state of alertness and active processing. Each notification, each message, each headline represents a small stimulus that our brain must process, keeping attention systems active when they should be preparing for rest. For older adults, who can be particularly sensitive to the interruption of sleep patterns, this continuous stimulus can be especially problematic. Additionally, the physical position we adopt when using devices in bed, often with the neck tilted and the back hunched, can generate muscle tension that persists during the night, contributing to physical discomfort and therefore difficulty falling asleep. The solution proposed by sleep medicine experts is clear and forceful: establish a technology-free bedroom. This means not only avoiding the use of electronic devices in the hour before going to bed, but ideally keeping them out of the bedroom completely. If you use your phone as an alarm clock, consider investing in a traditional alarm clock. If you're concerned about being unreachable in case of emergency, you can configure your phone to only allow calls from specific contacts during the night, keeping it in another room. For those who enjoy reading before sleep, a physical book or an e-reader with electronic ink technology, which doesn't emit blue light, are excellent alternatives. If for practical reasons you need to have some device in your bedroom, use blue light filters, activate night mode, and keep the screen at the minimum brightness level. Dr. James Wilson, a neurologist specializing in sleep medicine, states that, of all the changes in the nighttime routine that I recommend to my older patients with anxiety and insomnia problems, eliminating technology from the bedroom is the one that produces the most immediate and significant results. This change, although it may initially seem difficult for those accustomed to checking their devices before sleeping, often produces notable improvements in sleep quality in just 1 week. If you've followed this video up to here, I congratulate you on your commitment to improving your well-being and sleep quality. The 8 habits we've reviewed may be silently feeding your nighttime anxiety, but now you have the knowledge and tools to transform your bedtime routine. Remember that changes don't have to be implemented all at once. Even modifying just one of these habits can make a significant difference in your anxiety experience and sleep quality. I encourage you to choose the habit that resonates most with you, the one you feel might be affecting you most directly, and try to implement the suggested strategies for at least 7 consecutive days. Keep a simple record of how you feel upon waking each morning and how you perceive your anxiety level. This record will allow you to objectively observe the changes and motivate you to continue. As we mentioned at the beginning, many people discover that the last habit, eliminating technology from the bedroom, is the one that produces the quickest and most notable results. If you choose to start there, I'd love for you to share your experience in the comments after a week of testing. Your testimony could be exactly what someone else needs to take that same step. Remember that anxiety, especially in older adults, is not a condition you must accept as an inevitable part of aging. With the right strategies and necessary support, it's possible to experience restorative rest and a sense of calm that you may not have felt in years. If this video has been useful to you, I would greatly appreciate if you gave it a like and shared it with those people in your life who could benefit from this information. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive more content specifically designed to improve the emotional and physical well-being of older adults. In our next video, we'll explore breathing techniques specifically adapted to quickly calm the nervous system during episodes of nighttime anxiety. Thank you for your attention, and remember, each night is a new opportunity to rest, recover, and wake up with renewed energy to fully enjoy this stage of